Lauren here?
Oh my God.
Hi. Hi.
What is going on in Michigan? I just want to know.
Dude, you don't want to know. It's
You're going on in Michigan.
I got so many stories about Detroit. I got to talk to you.
Okay, so
We're excited.
let's first off, I just want to let's just go through the resume really quick. Here's somebody who's sold somewhere over 75 million albums worldwide, has played to millions of people live over the years, is a recent Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee.
Yes.
Well deserved. But the thing that's nearest and dearest to our hearts here in Detroit, he's the guy who sang the line, "Born and raised in South Detroit."
Yes.
And by the way, I know, Blaine, there is no South Detroit because that's the river.
Yes.
Well, some say the river and some say Dearborn. It depends on who you're talking to.
Let me tell you, you're talking to me, so let me explain it.
All right.
Ready? Okay, you ready?
Yes.
So if you're sitting like at the hotel, near the river.
Okay.
And you decide, I'm going to jump on the 75 and I'm going to go north. You go north about a mile and a half north. And you get off the freeway, go over the overpass and turn left. It'll say Detroit South.
Okay.
Yes.
I got it.
So that's where it came from.
You want to know the truth is when it came to writing a lyric, I really loved the way Detroit sounded as a lyric. And we went through East Detroit, West Detroit, doesn't seem so great. North Detroit, no. But South Detroit sounded so awesome.
Yeah.
That I just couldn't help myself.
Steve, that's our unofficial anthem because like every time you're at like a Red Wings game and they're up like 5-2 in the third period, they start playing "Don't Stop Believin'" and that line comes up. They turn down the music and everybody, all 20,000 people in the arena, born and raised in South Detroit, it gives me chills every time.
Well, and they say it and they don't care that they know there's the river.
Exactly.
Oh, heck no. They're just happy to be a part of it.
We got name checked by Steve Perry. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I just want to say this, Steve. I've been following your return over the last month or so. You did an hour-long interview with a guy who I'm a huge fan of, Tom Bernard in Minneapolis. And I listened to the whole thing. And just hearing the story about kind of your Rip Van Winkle story. I mean, you lost that love and feeling for music in the mid to late 90s, and you literally shut it down.
I had to shut it down. I mean, I was out of options. And the last thing I think was going to sustain me or get me into bigger trouble with some of my party behaviors was to continue with an empty heart for this, and it kept on scaring the hell out of me, to be honest with you. So I just turned to the guys and said, I need to stop. And they went, what are you talking about? Because it wasn't like every day we talked to each other like, hey, how you feeling? How's your heart?
Right.
Fine. And that was about the depth of our conversations with each other. So I knew it was not going to be a popular statement, but I also knew it was going to be a disappointing statement to the fans. But for me personally, I had to do it. I had to walk away with a conviction of just not coming back.
Well, and they always say if you can walk away like that, I mean, the fact that you can recognize that within yourself, with everything around you, the parties, the money, the fame, the song, the popularity, and the fact that you can still stand by that, I mean, that's very inspiring.
Well, Lauren, I mean, if you look close to the music business, you will see many who decide they can't, and they continue to go. And I think as their heart gets a little bit more, drained, as maybe a better word, of the original passion that got them into it in the first place.
Yeah.
I think they start to substitute that passion with exterior behaviors. And you know what? Look around. Some people aren't making it. Yeah. And I just didn't want to be one of those kind of people.
No, totally.
Steve Perry is our very special guest. His new album, Traces, comes out October 5th. And it features a bunch of great songs, including No More Crying, which I love this song.
It's beautiful.
Also, I love No Erasing too. That's a great song.
Thank you.
You worked with it's cool. You worked with one of the guys from Semisonic. Also, John Five, of all people, who plays with the not Marilyn Manson, but
Yeah,
Rob
he's
Zombie.
been in Marilyn Manson. He also Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie. Yeah, he's been around. This guy's amazing.
And you know where he's from?
What, he's from Detroit?
Yeah, he's from Detroit. All good things.
You should just move here.
He's a pick and pull. He can.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, I know that you went through a lot. Your friend, the director, Patty Jenkins, introduced you to Kelly Nash, and you fell in love. And sadly, you lost Kelly. She died in 2012. Mm-hmm. But she asked you to make her a promise.
Yeah.
Tell us about that promise.
Well, one of my favorite times we would spend together is kiss each other goodnight and turn the lights off. I'd either talk her to sleep or she'd talk me to sleep, or we would just talk in the dark. And it was just such a great moment at the end of our days. And one night she says, honey, I need to ask you something. I said, what's that? She says, I need you to make me a promise. I said, well, what's that? She said, if anything was ever happened to me, please promise that you won't go back into isolation, for I feel you will make this all for naught. Now, I must explain, it wasn't like I was in isolation when I met her. I was going to movies. I was going to my hometown. Right. I was going to dinner with friends. I was living my life, but I was not singing, not writing music, certainly not performing, and nothing to do with what I walked away from for years. Right. Nothing to do with that. And so she was sort of looking at it very clearly, I think, and saying that, the arc of her life was she was one person, she got diagnosed. We come together 3 years after she's diagnosed. We were together for a year and a half, and then the potential of her not making it, she was thinking there has to be some sort of like reason, some sort of like purpose. Mm-hmm. So she asked me to make a promise that I would go back into isolation. So after I lost her about, I'd say 2 years at least, maybe 3, honest, of grieving. Wow. Which still happens from time to time. I imagine. Over. Just the waves come less frequent,
Yeah.
But the first couple of years, it was constant. And so I eventually started pulling up some songs that I had written when I was with her and songs I had written before I met her, and decided to build a studio and got an engineer who also plays guitar by the name of Tom Flowers. And he saw my studio, and I started to explain to him why I built it the way I did and what I think it was capable of. And he loved my studio and thought it was absolutely capable of what I was hoping for. And we checked into that room, and we were, as we say, in the box for quite some time, and we finished this record.
Wow. I have to say, it's such an...
And the promise has been kept. So I'm talking to you now because the promise is being kept.
Yep, that's true.
That's amazing. That's such a great story. Thank you for sharing. And I have to say, it is such an honor to talk to you. I grew up with your music, Steve. And when I used to babysit my little brother, the only thing he would fall asleep to is I would sing the Na Na Nas from Love and Touch in Sweden as a lullaby, and that would be the only thing that would get him to go to bed. So you were a staple in our family growing up. Absolutely.
Well, can I tell you that the Na Nas were written at the what is the old venue right by the water there downtown?
Oh, you mean Cobo?
Cobo Arena backstage.
No way.
The Na Nas.
Wow.
That is awesome.
You and I were sitting backstage. I had Love and Touch in Sweden sort of already sketched and already melodically written, but the Na Nas sort of happened backstage at Como before we went on that. I love that little place, by the way. That's one of my favorite places. It's still there, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's still there.
Yeah. Oh, that is so cool.
That is so cool.
I have to ask you as well. I mean, your music has been such a big part of so many pop culture moments. I mean, the end of The Sopranos, and then the TV show Glee comes back with Don't Stop Believin', and it's a whole new generation. How did that feel for you when all of a sudden all these new kids were jumping around to Journey again?
You want to know the honest to God's truth? When it first was approached to me, the Glee version, I was a little like, I don't like the way this auto-tune sounds on their voices.
Yeah.
But I realized it was another generation embracing what they think is cool and sounds emotional to them. Once I just embrace that within myself. I was okay with that version, and then it continued into that show forever. But, I came from a different generation where there was no auto-tune, where there was just people emotionally singing whatever they could sing the best they could. And it was such a sincere language the way they were singing to me. I thought personally
Yeah.
that it changed my life.
Yeah. It's amazing because, Steve, I was thinking about this knowing that we were going to interview you. I'm very old school. I love, like, if I had to do my Mount Rushmore of lead singers, you'd be on there with Robert Plant,
Yes.
with Robin Zander, with, guys like that who have these elastic voices that
Yeah.
can do amazing things. Neil Sean did an interview, your old bandmate, recently, where he said that you and Aretha Franklin are his two favorite singers,
Wow.
and that you are a once-in-a-lifetime singer.
So that's awful sweet of Neil to say that. I will tell you that Neil Sean is one of the most prolific guitar players in the world, and I think he's underrated, and that upsets me. But I think that most people know who the hell he is because he's really wonderful. But that's so sweet. Listen, they're giving me
I figured.
a couple more questions here because I have such a schedule today.
Okay. What about Traces? I mean, like the album cover features your old drum set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many little personal things in there. What about this new album, Traces, which will be available, by the way, on October 5th? What do you want us to take away from it?
Wow. I want you to look at the cover and realize that there's so many traces of my life in that cover that lean back to the sources the music came from. And then when you listen to the music, you'll see that built into these tracks, into these performances with these drummers like Vinnie Colaiuta and Steve Ferroni and Josh Freese and being a drummer, that's why I put my drum set on the cover, because I appreciate great drummers more than anything, because you can have a pretty crappy band, have a great drummer. You're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have a great band and a bad drummer, you're in deep trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the importance of drummers. So I just want people to get into the emotion of what's in this record, the sincere emotion that we tried to reach for in all the performances. Real musicians bringing their losses, their heart, their broken hearts, their joys to this record. And the songwriting is something we're really proud of. And I just hope that the sincerity comes across.
Well, I tell you what, Steve, I think I can speak for Lauren when I say that it totally does.
Yes, yes.
And that, you know what, it more than anything, Steve, it's so nice to, it's like an old friend just coming back into our lives.
Yes.
So thank you.
Your voice is iconic, and it's such an honor to talk to you today. This is so great.
Well, thank you so much. That feels so great to hear that. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Hope to see you soon, Steve. Thank you.
Yes.
I'll talk to you soon. Say hi to Detroit for me.
Oh,
We will.
Steve,
Okay.
that's Steve Perry, the one and only on 96.3 WDVD.